Aaron Belliston, the man, the myth, the legend. I've been looking really forward to this because you and I have become friends over the years, but I also highly respect you as a professional. When it comes to your area of specialty, I think of you as an expediter, and I might be pointing that out wrong, but I believe that you can look at any property and you can figure out what the best, highest and best use will be. I've never heard anyone talk about how they work with the city and how they work with contracts and everything it more clearly than you. So I think you're worth your weight in gold, and I'm so glad that you're here. Aaron Belliston, BMR Enterprises. Can you tell us just a little bit more about what you do? Just give us a snapshot.
Yeah, sure, Scott. Thanks for having me. It's been great to get to know you over these past decade plus and see you grow in your business. So I appreciate time to talk with you and all the things that we've collaborated on over the years. So our business, BMR Enterprises, is a fully integrated real estate development shop. We got our start as investors and syndicators. Then we added general contracting to the mix. Then we added brokerage in-house to the mix. Mm-hmm. And then we started doing land use consulting work, which is where you and I bump heads a lot and are able to find ways to get properties to perform and really generate their highest rate of return is on the land use side. So that's our primary business that we do facing outward when we're not developing for our own account. Mm-hmm. And then we do have a function within our land use practice where we'll do expediting work. Expediting work is really related to the permitting of a construction, mm-hmm. whereas the land use component is all the stuff that comes before you can even step into the permitting. So getting through specific entitlements with the city and getting approvals for things that may not be part of the code already.
And so, as you know, the real estate hell is about challenges that we face in real estate. It could be anything, and then how we overcame that. So I would love for you to share, because you're the first person. Yeah, mostly we've had like attorneys and CPAs, insurance guys. You're the first one that we've had like you. So why don't you share a couple of your stories? What have you gone through?
Yeah, sure. Because we touch all aspects of the real estate life cycle, we get a lot of war stories. We always have fun talking about them, and they can go on for hours because we have a lot, and we find them. We're always learning from those stories, so it's a lot of fun to talk about them. But when I think about ones that stand out over the last 15, 20 years, there's a couple of highlights that things seem insurmountable, and then you quickly find a solution and get a way to get it done. And I think that's the best part about real estate is that it's always limited only by your own creativity. We had a mentor when I was first getting started that made that comment, and I didn't know what it really truly meant. But as you're getting into it, things pivot, things change, new laws come out. They can be helpful, they can be hurtful. One new ordinance might kill 10 deals, but it might spawn a whole new business model. So we always kind of embrace the challenges when they come. So it's funny when you're like, hey, tell us your health stories. I don't really think of having health stories. I think of having really awesome opportunities to learn and to refine our approach to real estate, whether that be development or holding for sales or brokerage or whatever. So one story that came to mind was a great one, and I think that I noticed kind of a theme developing as I considered which stories might be valuable for your audience. Uh-huh. And that theme all kind of came back to having the relationships and building out relationships as being one of the most important aspects of building out a portfolio or building out even just directly building out real estate and improved property improvements. And so one of those was I was looking to get a piece of real estate for a very close associate of mine. Mm-hmm. And we were in a time in the marketplace where the rates were low and activity was incredibly high. And I think that for a small condo, there was something like 50 plus offers that had gone in. And I'm thinking, how do we stand out among 50 plus without overshooting the moon and offering just something that, leaving money on the table and way overshooting it? So I looked at what office the listing agent was in and recognized that I had a great, very strong agent in that same office who put in a call and just said, hey, consider these people. They'll make it work for your seller. Just consider them. And long story short, we were able to get it done, and we got the seller the highest price and the best terms, and we also didn't leave anybody hurt on my associate side, and that's someone that's very, very close with me. And it's been a great thing to have them in that property. And you might recognize that story, Scott, because you were the person
I do.
that was in that office. And again, that's not a call I could have made had you and I not had a relationship, and then had you and this other agent not had a level of respect between one another,
Right.
then your words would have fallen on deaf ears, and not, if anything, could have hurt the request.
Yeah.
But long story short, it all turned out great. It was high stakes there for a bit, just because it was really important to lock that up. So it could have been hell, but with Scott and Nell, we got it turned around, and it made it all work out.
I'm going to quote you on that. No, the truth is, so when you talk about relationships, I couldn't agree more. And because of the high level, the way I see you, and because of our relationship, the truth is, when you did that, I wanted to go out of my way. I wanted to do whatever I could to make that happen. And then fortunately, because I knew the agent, I just called up and we just talked, and there's we're not I'm not asking for any favors. Just tell me what we can do to make this happen. It's like win-win. Let's create a win-win here. And yeah, that was great. Thanks for sharing that story. I was glad to be part of it because I knew how important it was for you.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Very good. There was 50 offers?
It was something ridiculous.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was
Oh my gosh, that's just crazy.
And we went a large percentage over the ask on our first run, but we still weren't in the top 10 that they decided to counter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that phone call made all the difference.
Okay, well, it was my pleasure. My pleasure, absolutely. Give me another crazy story.
Yeah, well, we have a really fun story. We were finishing up the construction of two very architecturally significant and structurally significant single-family homes up in the Hollywood Hills. These were spec developments that we had going. And we came on the market right at the beginning of 2020, so a wonderful year, and great, beautiful product. But we really needed to get them moved and off the books. And we got the first house, which was the smaller one, into escrow. And about 2.5 weeks into the escrow, the world shut down with the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And normally that wouldn't be so concerning because you're in an escrow, you've got a contract going, whatever. But it turned out then that our buyer was a restaurateur and owned 14 restaurants that were now effectively closed for business. Mm-hmm. So we then had to go back on the market, and they couldn't perform and couldn't get it done because they were just trying to figure out how to keep their staff employed and pivot. Mm-hmm. And we're back on with very expensive property with very high per month holding costs that were just eating us alive, and couldn't do open houses, couldn't do showings, couldn't do anything. We're just sitting there waiting. And lo and behold, we were able to finally get someone to come in. They did a walkthrough of the property that was completed, and right there on the site decided they wanted to make an offer, make a deal, and make it happen. And then they inquired about the house that was next door that was still under construction. Mm-hmm. And I was very nervous because I thought, well, there goes our buyer. We'll be back to not being able to show it because it's not finished. And they're going to say, well, this is a big problem. We don't want to buy a brand new house and be dealing with construction for 6 months and the noise and everything. And I said, well, it's past the noisy part. It'll be done in a few months. It's not that big of a deal. Just trying to downplay it. And then the buyer said, well, I'd really like to go and see it. And I'm just thinking, this thing is a mess. It's like right in construction. There's just dirt and debris everywhere. And him and his wife and his daughter climbed over a railing to walk across this very skinny little piece of scaffolding and go through this house that's just completely messy with drywall mud and dust and everything everywhere. And And then he looks around, he's looking around, I'm thinking, there goes my sale. It's going to be done. It's all done. I'm going to be back on the market with no showings. And then the guy says, well, we'd like this one too. So
I thought that was going to happen. That's
so they ended up closing on the first house, and his daughter moved in, and then a few months later, with some modifications here and there to make it specific for his son, he was able to get his daughter and his son to stay close to one another, so he could have them watching out for each other, and it turned out really well. So it was actually a blessing that our first buyer fell through, so that this family could have something that was going to really service their needs and keep the family close together.
that's great. I love that story. I love that story. So, can you do me a favor? Do you have one more holstered there that you can share? And then,
Again, the fun part about real estate is things are always changing and evolving. So we had done a deal, and this again was one that you were involved in helping us to locate, was a land assemblage for subdivision purposes. So we knocked down two single family homes, recorded a map, or rather had ready to record an approved map for 8 new homes, got through some really beautiful designs. That was utilizing the small lot subdivision process in the city of LA, which is something we work with very closely, have done several hundred of those types of units. And as we were getting ready to get the construction underway, I was just feeling a lot of pain about the market, because all of the conversation at that time was about rates going up.
right.
And given just where we were with our build out and how we wanted these units to come to market in that sub market within Los Angeles, we wanted to target a higher end because we felt that they were going to just do a lot better there, but it made our margins very tight. And so as we got watching, reading the tea leaves as best we could, we just felt that the rate increases were going to make our exit really tight and uncomfortable. And we'd already closed our construction loan. We were ready to start driving nails. Like, we were ready. We had paid for the loan. And we decided to sell it. So we offloaded that to another buyer who was going to build it themselves. And for about 6 or 7 months, we were the smartest people alive, because the rates were going to tick up and it was all good. Well, again, the pandemic hit and the rates fell through the floor. Well, we are the smartest people alive because we're not in the middle of this project that's clearly going to go nowhere. Well, then the rates hit the floor and the market takes off. You remember it well. You were very busy.
Crazy.
Market takes off, and now we're the dumbest people alive because we've left all kinds of value on the table, and the market's just blowing up, and these things are going to be primed into a great market.
Right.
And the supply chains all got hammered, and the people that bought it couldn't get their air conditioning units and couldn't get labor to the job, and had all other kinds of problems. And unfortunately, one of the operators that purchased it passed away as well. And the project was, last I checked, was unfinished into the current market, with the rates really high and things just being brutal out there. And so we're, again, the smartest people alive for the moment, subject to change any point in time. But that, again, it just underlies that the relationships and being able to get the assemblage, and then being able to offload it to a developer who was ready to take down an RTI shovel ready, construction loan ready project. But then also just highlights the way that the markets can change, and you've got to be nimble to address those, and be prepared to be really smart one day, really dumb the next, and then really smart again, and then really dumb again, because the market will do that to you. So it's just a matter of being prepared for any outcome, and rolling with it, and having a good time while you do it with good people.
Well, I was very impressed when I worked with you how calm and cool you stayed. And I remember downstairs, and this where I'm at in my office downstairs, when we had to sit down with a buyer because he was talking me up and down, and I don't know small lot like you do. I understand I understand enough to be dangerous with it. And so I said, what do you think about just taking a meeting? Let's just sit at the table together and talk like real people. And when you came in, that big smile on your face, you had all what was the plans and everything. Hey, how you doing? And every time the guy would say something to try to talk over you or try to clarify, you'd say no. And your level of knowledge to just set everything straight was amazing to me. I was man, you were like a prize fighter in there, and he was like, he was still Golden Gloves. He wasn't at your level, and so I really really enjoyed watching you on that.
Yeah, well, it all comes from just being in the ground and also never wanting to be wrong. So making sure you do your homework 6 ways to
Right.
Sunday so that you can show up with armed with the information because you've really thought about it. You know.
Right. Well, that's exactly what you did. Before you go, I would like, and again, thanks for coming on, because seriously, I know how busy you are. I know that how important your family is and everything that you're doing. You're nuts. So thank you for taking this
Oh, my
time.
pleasure. Thanks.
I would like to highlight a charity or a cause that means something to you. And so if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to share that, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We're involved in quite a few different programs and things. We always like to jump on and help out where we can with other friends who have charities, such as the one that you're closely involved with, and trying to keep that at the forefront and having people jump up to help that out. But one that's really close to me is we have a nonprofit in Colorado that my mom started probably 30 plus years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a ballet teacher and has this entity that puts on professional level performing arts experiences for young artists.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives these kids a really incredible insight into what that field looks like at a professional level and
Mm-hmm.
doing things at that really high production value. And so we've been involved in that. I've been producing shows for that organization for the better part of 25 years. And it's been going on for a little over 40 years in total, but one that she started and running a short time shorter than that. So that's one we're involved with. And we see those young dancers end up all over the world on tour doing musical theater in Korea or dancing at with a local ballet company here
Mm-hmm.
nationally that then goes on tour to Australia and Hawaii and opening theaters in London and stuff. So it's been pretty cool to see the alumni from those programs go out and do really awesome things.
That's great. And what did you say the name of that is?
Well, that's it's named after our family name because my mom started it, Belliston Ballet, which is a nonprofit for performing arts in Colorado.
Belliston Ballet. That's awesome. You know what's interesting is that today, or just recently, the people that we've talked to, it seems like everyone is their heart is going towards mentoring kids, helping kids, lifting kids up, and I love it. And so that's been the theme for the past few podcasts we've had. So
Yeah, it's really fun. You know, my mom was out recently and she's been suffering from some health issues and a nurse came in. She's like, "I know you. You took care of my niece or studied with you or whatever and did
uh-huh.
your program." And she said, "You probably don't remember this, but you saved my niece's life." And my mom's like, "Well, I remember your niece, but how so?" She said, "Well, through her parents' divorce, the time she spent it in your facility was her only home with her only friends and her only stability through a really nasty divorce." And so the stories do come back that it's not, obviously it's not just about performing for the kids. It's about showing them what the value of a team and a family is, and when you produce things that take a group and provide those life lessons, that's where the real joy comes.
That's great. That's great. I love it. And it's the Belliston Ballet. That's kind of catchy. I like that.
Yeah, pretty funny, huh?
I think it's wonderful. And so, thanks so much for coming. Seriously, thanks for being on our podcast and taking the time. I know I
My
say that
pleasure.
a couple of times just because I know who I'm dealing with and I know what's on your plate. So, just want to thank you for that.
Very good. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate the time.